Startup screens are an often underlooked part of consoles. I mean, name any game console. What do you think of? That's a bad example. But if you want to play a video game, you have to turn on the console. I mean, how are you going to play it without it? And before one of you goes down to the comments and says, yeah, I can actually emulate it. Yeah, I know, I'm just trying to make a point here. In the early days of gaming, if you turned on a console without a game in it, you'd be greeted to... So instead of something being stored on the console, the developers would put the logo in the cartridge. Because of this, it led to some really cool and creative ways to display the logos. Similarly, the Game Boy used this as an anti-piracy measure, interestingly enough. If you turn on the system with no game, you just see this box. That's because the logo is stored on the cartridge, and the system checks for the logo to see if it's a real game. That's pretty cool. It didn't stop piracy for very long, but it's pretty cool. The Sega Genesis did the same thing, and same thing. So let's go through the rest of the most recognizable console intros to see what makes these things recognizable. My name is Andrew, and you're watching... Alright, let's get into this. When you think of console startups, one of the first things to come to your mind is probably the iconic... Sega! The Sega Genesis intro, man, this is classic. A lot of Sega startup screens follow a pretty similar pattern. Cool background, a logo that does something, and they usually have a full song playing instead of a jingle, and this is some good stuff. I feel like while a lot of these are cool, they can be kind of forgettable sometimes, but that might just be me. I'm not a big Sega guy, so maybe I'd think differently if I actually used the consoles. The Dreamcast and Genesis intros will always be iconic though. PlayStation intros also kind of follow their own pattern, but that doesn't make them any less iconic. I mean, have you ever turned on a PS1? And you certainly know the PS2 intro. Did you know the towers here actually symbolize how much you've played? Each tower represents a game on your memory card, and the height is based on how long you've played. A lot of console startups go for the cool, futuristic, electronic sound. And then there's the PS3. Onto the PS4, oh okay, this just looks unfinished. And finally the PS5 intro, which symbolizes the dust coming out of your wallet when you finally try to buy this thing. The original Xbox intro is just so cool. This high-tech futuristic machine creating this green ball, and the logo just... I'm so ready to play. The Xbox 360 intro is iconic, and it has a few different variations. The original one has this ball that looks like a planet or something, and the X gets pushed into it. I love the circle at the end too. When the Xbox 360 Slim came out, the one that I have, they decided to change things up a bit. These green lines swirl around the gray orb to form the X. This is the one I've always known, but I think I like the original just a bit more. There's also this blue version. This is like when you leave an Xbox game into the sun and the logo turns blue, but now it's infected the console. And finally, the Xbox Series X/X, the consoles that I still don't think exist. Like, look at this, it just says Xbox, that's so boring. Look at these side by side. I do like though that they keep a specific type of sound for the intros. It's not the same sound every time, but you hear this and you know. Finally, what you've all been waiting for. I saved the best for last. Nintendo's console startups are always special. While the NES didn't have anything, the Famicom had this cool startup and I like it a lot. The N64 disc drive is another famous one. The logo spins up from the ground and then bounces back down. We already went over the original Game Boy, but the Game Boy Color and Advance are some of my favorite startups. They're just good. On the topic of handhelds, I like the DS one a lot too. The logo comes in and all these little boxes come flying out with that iconic sound. Dude, I don't know why, this line, I've tried saying this like 30 times in a row, and for some reason I can't get it right. The 3DS takes the same kind of format and makes it its own thing with these red boxes on the side. Finally, I got it. Speaking of red, the Virtual Boy. Oh my god, what is this? The Wii intro, on the other hand, saved my life. If it didn't warn me here, I don't even want to know what would have happened. The Wii U intro? This is just the logo, but it has a nice sound. And of course, everyone knows the Switch intro. But this doesn't actually play when you turn the console on, it just does nothing. It plays it when you turn the console on for the first time, like when you're setting it up, but that's it. If you restart the console though, it does show a black version of the logo. But the iconic thing everyone knows is actually just from the Switch trailers. But yeah, onto the one intro that everyone knows, probably the most iconic startup, none other than the Neo Geo. Fine, it's the Atari Lynx. Okay, it's the GameCube. This is just so good. This block draws out a cube, that's also the logo, that's also a G, that's also a C, and it also turns into the menu. Like, dude, I don't even own a GameCube, and this is peak. This thing even has a few secrets. If you hold down the Z button when the console's turning on, it'll use different sounds for the intro. And for every additional controller that you hold it down on, it'll play even different sounds. There's 4 different versions. Good luck getting 4 controllers though in this economy. But yeah, I'm not even gonna do the build up for this because you guys already all know this. The background music on the menu is the Famicom theme slowed down 17,433%, something like that, I don't know. If you didn't know that, I probably just blew your mind. That was a lot of consoles. Xbox and PlayStation kind of just follow their own patterns, but it's always fun to see what Nintendo has in store. And hey, maybe sometime we can come back and do the same thing for console menus. But until then,